Ladies and gentlemen, it's set. 2023 Road to the Horse. Your first main event competitor is two-time world champion Guy McLean.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Welcome everyone to episode 95 of the Send Nutrition Podcast. You're with your host Brian today, and welcome back to the new year. And we're going to start it off with two very special guests in Guy and Emily McLean. And they are on their way to the airport because Guy is going or heading over to Kentucky to compete in the World Championship of Colt starting. And this is going to be a fascinating insight to his preparations. And also we're going to review how the past 6 months have gone as they've just jam-packed their schedule with shows and events. And how are you, Emily and Guy?
Going really good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Doing really well. Thanks, Brian.
It's fantastic to have you guys on, and thanks for your time. I know it must be an enormous task to pack up for the next 3 months.
Oh, yeah, we headed out and turned right, and we've got a lovely gentleman who's taking care of the place, and then Emily goes, I need to get that. So we've been back one time, and he said, you back already? I said, yeah, see you in 5 minutes, just in case we forget something else. But we're 2.5 hours from there now, and no turning back now. We're heading to America.
And Guy, would you give our listeners a bit of an insight to where you are actually heading and what you will be competing in?
Absolutely. So back in 2005, I competed at Equitana in the Way of the Horse, which was Australia's version of the Colt Starting Championships, the Australian National Championships. And then when I was blessed enough to win that, I thought the next step was to try and compete in the World Championships over in America, which at the time was at Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And we spoke to the lady who was running it back then, and she said, you don't talk to us, we talk to you. You have to be famous in America before we'll speak to you. So I did 2 years over there and headlined at a lot of major events, and then she said, you're famous enough now, you can come. And so I competed with Dan James in 2012 against America and Canada as Team Australia. We were very blessed to be able to win then, and then both Dan and I were invited back the next year to compete against two wonderful lady trainers, Obi Schlom and Sarah Winters, who's gone on to be one of America's very best reined cow horse trainers. And so I was blessed enough to win in 13, and then they invited me for the next few years, and I really didn't feel like I had anything more to show. My gelding was really, really special, and the judges didn't really like what I did in the first few sessions. It's very different. The way I start a horse is quite different to what they're used to seeing, and the crowd saw it and the horse understood it, but the judges didn't mark me very well, and I basically had to steal the competition on the last day, which is fine. But when the judge told me that if you train that way again, we won't let you win, I thought, well, I don't need to come back. And then about 10 years later now, they rang me up. They have a different judge. They want to see different competitors. Apparently, we're quite popular. The way I started the horses with the crowd, and the crowd, they really know what they're looking at because they're horse lovers. So they said we're going to be more open to all ways of training, because it's a huge ask, Brian, what they get us to do. That we take a horse that's never been ridden before, and then on day 3 they want us to ride it to an obstacle course that most 10-year-old pony clubbers would not be able to complete. You know, it's quite a big ask for them. So on day 1 and day 2, I say to the young horse, day 3 is going to be big, so let's put the time and effort in now. It's basically putting the groundwork in it, because normally by day 3, everyone gets to ride their horse through, but the horses aren't prepared, and there's a lot of failure, I can't go through that, or I can't cross that bridge, or I can't go through that tarp curtain. Whereas the horses I work with, they go, you told us this was coming, we're prepared and we're ready. So also the last 10 years I've been training, horses for the public again, and when I go to these major events, I'm starting beautiful youngsters, and on day 3 I'm riding them bridleless with 3 of my Liberty horses running along beside. So I do feel like my best is even better than what I did back in 2012. So I'm really excited to be able to go and showcase that and just do our very best. If the judges love it, fantastic, and if not, I'll just do my best, and it'll be all laid out for everyone to see.
Yeah, wow, that's a great outline of the competition, Guy. And as you said, they are young horses. There's going to be a big mental aspect to this. Do you have a particular approach to selecting the colts for the competition?
Yeah, well, they've already made them pretty famous. They got 130,000 followers, or they've got a lot of followers, and so they've introduced the horses. So the horses will be quite famous to their followers by the time they get there. So we've seen the 12 horses. We've seen them move about. We know their bloodlines. A lot of them are related to horses that have competed there over the last 10 years. So we'll turn up, and us 4 competitors, there's three competitors from America and myself. We'll all go in and we'll pull a number out of the hat, and then the way it's going to happen is if I get number 1, I get to choose first, and then whoever got number 4 will get to choose last for the first horse, and then they'll get to choose the next horse straight after. So we have to choose 2 horses. We have, I think, 2.5 hours to train those 2 horses on the first day. At both of them, they want us to spend equal amount of times with them, which is it's a big ask to take 2 babies that have probably been handled once or twice when they were yearlings, and then castrated and branded, and they get branded on their face too, the poor darlings, so they don't like you handing them around their head, but that's just traditions, and we don't question that. We just do the best with what we can, but you have to prove to them the first couple of sessions, you have to prove to them that we're not going to do to their face what's been done in the past, and you just go in there. I just go in there and say to the young horse, I want you to try, and I want to show you things that are going to set you up. And then I delve back into all the horses that I've worked over the last, I've been doing this professionally since I was 15, so I'm now 47. So I know that the horses that I meet here, I'll be able to delve back to a horse that 10 years ago had similar personality, and what do they do to help them? And because each horse we're all triggered differently. We all have things that motivate us differently, and I'm going to treat that horse as an individual and just try to see the very, very best in him. And what I've learned from the 2, and I've competed in it twice, these other competitors, Mike Majors won it last year, so he's competed in it once. The other 2 men have won the wildcard version, so they've done the exact same competition, but when they won it, it wasn't a world championship, it was just to get them into the world championship. But we've all been under the pressures of it, and what I've noticed is if we started horses at home and rode them like we normally do, and then turned up and we could have them crossing obstacles and doing all great things at home, you could ride them for a month, and then you turn up to that competition where there's 8,000 people in a jam-packed arena. Like a lot of the clinicians' horses don't handle the pressure of the crowds and stuff. So it's these horses that we start under this pressure, God made them perfect, and in 3 days they just do amazing things. So I'll just know that even if I don't think my horse is ready, I know in my heart that day 3 he'll stand up and do something special, because horses are the most adaptable and amazing creatures for that. You can have the very best dog that you think is the most coolest and wonderful and connected to you, and then somebody shoots off a fireworks and he hides under the bed for 3 days. Like you can take a horse that's scared of fireworks now and work with him properly in an hour and put fireworks around with him, and he'll just say, well, that's life, and he'll adapt to that. And in my opinion, they're the most adaptable animal in the world. And so I'll know that. I know they'll go in and say, I need to show you as much as I can in these 2 sessions, and then on the 3rd day we're just going to go out and do our very best, and know that they can come out and be even better than we ever expected them to be. And it's really exciting for me, because we don't put them under those pressures in our normal training. But when I start a baby on day 1 at major events, and I'm riding in bridleless on day 3 working my team, it's because I have a plan to get there, and I believe that the horse can get there. And so it's our expectations and our belief in ourselves and in the horse that's most important. But because I've won the 2 world championships and I've been at other events where they've competed, a lot of the competitors say to me, what do you think I should do? How should I approach this? And I say, whatever you do not question what you've done to this point. Go out and do your very best, and believe in what you're doing, and believe in your method and your understanding, and just give the very best at it. Because I'm going to do a few things differently from what I did 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, I wouldn't. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. I gave my very best in the moment. That was enough for the horse. So a lot of the competitors, they'll come up to me and go, you know what, I didn't do what you told me to. I got halfway through, and then I saw what someone else was doing, or someone told me I should do something different. I stepped away from my path. I didn't believe in myself. My horse didn't believe. So self-belief is probably the most important thing, because a horse wants to follow a leader, but if a leader looks lost, who wants to follow someone who's lost? The stronger we are in our belief systems, the more the horse will follow us. And I'm just going to try and be a leader worth following from day one through to day 3.
Guy, your words are so inspiring, and these younger horses, they're in such good hands now, and being adaptable, as you said, is really important. Have you looked at your bloodlines already and have a preconceived idea of which colt you're going to be aiming for first? Not that we're going to let the cat out of the bag today. Can you give our listeners a little insight into your thought process of the type of colts you'll be selecting and why?
Yeah, well, you'll certainly get a feel. For me as a performer, fingers crossed everything goes how I'd like it to, and I'm able to win. Because I'm the Australian Stock Horse Ambassador, I don't need another American quarter horse. But if he wins the World Championships, well, I'll look after him forever and thank him, just like I have the other 2 boys. And the Australian Stock Horse Society know that if a horse wins the World Championship for me, I am then connected to him for the rest of his life, and I look after him. So I will be looking for a horse that I would want, and there's several horses in there that look more stock horsey to me. So they would look more like the horses that I would normally ride on. But if I'm not able to win with it, my next horse I'd like to have in America would be another Australian stock horse. And the winnings from this at $75,000 to win it, well, that would allow me to bring another horse over. So I definitely have an idea. But you see, we go into that. There's a lot of cutting bloodlines in there, and cutters are fantastic. They'll squat down on their belly and work left and right, and they're amazing on a cow. But they're also some of the spookiest, worried little horses in the world. So I remember with Mate, I'd ride everything I rode into, the tarp curtain, the tarp on the ground. I'd say cutter, because he'd just squat down on his belly and jump left and right like a little cat, and that's because of the bloodlines with it. So there's some more ranch bred ones there that are bred more to run out in the open. There's some barrel racing lines, but I'll get a gut feeling. I've listened to my internal instincts my entire life with horses, and if it feels right, I'll go with it, and if it doesn't feel right, I won't. But there is a couple that have lit me up, but I don't need to tell anyone just in case my competitors will listen.
Yeah, we'll keep the secret behind. And it's so true. Trusting your gut and just having that plan A, plan B, plan C, as you said.
Yeah. But there's a horse there I really want, but if I can't have him, it won't be. It'll be loved the one you're with. Whichever horse I have, I'll tell him that he's the very best horse I've ever met, and hopefully he'll believe me.
Yeah, and so in Kentucky, it's in Lexington. What's the climate like at that time that you'll be competing? America's
it can be so different. It can be as warm as we are here through the day, and then it can be snowing at night. Texas, especially where we are, and that's why a lot of the animals get so sick over there. Like we'll take horses from here with hardly any, other than the Hendra virus, we hardly have any diseases that are really scary. And you go over there, and there's like 15 different shots the horses have to have before they'll let them into the country, and that's because it can be. And we'll talk Celsius because we're talking here to Australians here. It can be, -5 at night, and it can be 25 degrees Celsius in the day. So those huge jumps up and down can be what makes the animals so sick. Because when we first went over there, and I said I'm a stockman, we work cattle. They said, well, why don't you have a horn on your saddle? And we said, we don't need a horn, mate. If we want you to get out of the way, we just crack the whip. And they didn't get that, and I had to explain the horn that beeps compared to the horn on their saddle. But I said, why do you have it? And they said, well, how do you? That's how we doctor sick cattle. And I say, well, we doctor sick cattle over here. We run them into a yard and we doctor them that way. But I can't remember having sick cows with my kids. A sick cow was one that broke his leg, or that he ate the blossom off of a black boy stick, off a green stick. But other than that, we had no troubles. Whereas because of all the ups and downs in temperatures, their cattle get sick all the time, and they'll go out amongst 100 weanlings and might have to rope and inject 5 to 10 head of cattle a day. So with Lexington, my family are coming over, and they said, what's the pack? I said, well, you have a jumper, and we'll give you a guy in a clean jacket to go over the top. And the great thing is, though, it can be snowing outside in every building in America. The moment you go in there, everything's climate controlled. So it's a lot better than where we are. If we had snow in Australia, our houses wouldn't be equipped. So they're all equipped for those big changes in weather. But the days will probably be lovely, but it'll be cold. It will be cold enough to wear a jacket, especially for our Aussie family coming over.
How do you acclimatise? Do you prefer cold or hot weather?
As a horseman, I really prefer the cold. You work in the middle of a hot summer's day in Australia, and the poor horses, all they want to do is be standing under a tree, and you really feel, I don't like training them in the heat. It saps their energy, and there's some trainers who say they prefer it because then the horses aren't as energetic and they don't fight you as much, but I love it. I love when they feel fresh. I love to see them when they're tingling with excitement, because then if we can control them, and I'll quite often ride in the rain and ride in weather that in America, if it storms in America, they tell you to get out because there's a lot of deaths from a lightning strike. But in Australia, I've ridden in thunderstorms and stuff, and when you can connect to a horse under those extreme pressures, and then they'll give to you when it's a good day, they'll be amazing. So I really like the cool myself, and the main reason I like it is if you're cold, you can always put another jumper on, and you can always make yourself warm, whereas if you're hot, you can only take so many clothes off before you get arrested.
So true. That's a good way of putting it, Guy. So you guys will be over there for at least 3 months, is that?
That's right. Right now it'll be 3 months, because we really want to come back, and the young team that had Equitana are so very, very proud of them, and I want to get back and put more shows into them. Like they performed at that incredible world-class event, but really without having enough time to be the real solid team that I want. So Em's going to, when she has a spare minute, she's going to book a few shows back here. We've got Rockhampton shows keen to have us, and we give a show that we do, shows we do every second year over here. So I'd like to come back in May and do about half a dozen shows there before we start to head back over to do shows in Canada and back over there in America.
And Guy and Emily, I, from a personal standpoint, have a huge appreciation of how much work goes into these shows. So as people know, Sen partnered up with Guy McLean, the Guy McLean stand at Equitana, and we can't thank you both enough for having us with you guys. But am I right that to prepare for that show, you were even training really late at night the night before?
Well, it's not so much training as we go in there. The organisers tell us this has got to be world class and it's got to be spot on and everything's got to be perfect. You've got one rehearsal.
Oh,
so I don't know. So there was more rehearsal and stuff. But with my young horses, I mean, they'd never been under spotlight before, so they have what they call go-go lights. So we're jumping around left and right. They had other acts in there that were used to performing beside one horses, but I'd bring my team out and they'd be running the other acts in 4 or 5 horses, saddle horses, pretty much running into my horses and stuff. So that was a bit tricky, and we know, fingers crossed, we get ours back again. We'll just make sure that's a little bit better set up. In America, when the acts go in, you'll go in an end gate, and the next act will come in a side gate, and so you're never crossing paths and that kind of stuff. But it was more just rehearsing, getting everything right, and there was 2 or 3 of us that were paid professionals that do this every weekend across shows across the world, and then there were others who were coming in to represent breeds and stuff, and they try really hard and they're fantastic, but they've never done it before, so we had to make sure that they get the time slots right and that sort of thing. So it was quite a lot actually to get it all. When you're working with all professionals, you know what you're looking at. When there's people come in and doing it the first time, I can just only imagine the pressure that they would have been under trying to get everything right for themselves.
Yeah, it was an amazing headline performance, and we had people with us that have never seen you perform live, and they were out of their seats, and I think it was just fantastic to see, and I appreciate the amount of work that actually goes into performing. And I see with Emily even setting up the whole stand and everything, it was I think there wasn't much sleep that was going on time.
No, Em's the unsung hero of our business. There'd be no Guy McLean horsemanship without Emily McLean. I mean, I could still work the horses, and I don't believe that Em's not out there telling me what to do as far as training, but she makes it all so possible, and she's sitting here quietly beside me with a big smile on her face, and she is a worker. In the last 3 or 4 days, she has just really stepped it up. Emily's the sort of person who needs to have a timeline. She can let things slip, but you give her a timeline, and she's never a second late. And I'm so proud of her, and I'll be lost without you, Em. You're a cracker.
She's number one fan, support, and just
Well, I'm hers.
yeah. And no, you guys are an amazing team, and we even at Equitana, it wasn't only the headline that you were doing. You did clinics and shows in between. I think you did 6 or 7.
I think we had about 8 to 10 appearances, and it was really important to me as well. Yeah, because a lot of there was the other headliners. They're only giving sort of something on Friday and something on Sunday, or only getting 2 spots. And I don't want to talk ill of anything, but the way we make money is we're not paid a huge fortune to be at these events. It's getting people back to our booth and hoping that they'll support us. And a lot of the headliners, they make their lives out of clinics, so they do a great job in the arena, and they go back and book 15 or 20 clinics. Well, that's really good money for them, and that basically builds their clinics for the entire year, which is fantastic. But because I don't do clinics, I go from event to event like this. We actually have to make money at the event. So without Emily's involvement in the booth and without our relationship with you, we don't make money. We can't fly across the world and do what we're doing. We're feeding, with your help, we're feeding 24 horses here in Australia and 12 horses in America, and you can't turn them off like a motorbike or a car. So it's been amazing. And when we drove out of our property today, Nuggets Rest, that old man pulls a blanket off him. I swear I could take him back and perform him. He looks that good. Well, it just looks that good. He's got gimpy legs like me. And I'm allowed to walk around gimpy and say my hips are sore, and no one says, oh, it's bad. But if a horse takes a lame step, we're bad. So he gallops around the paddock like he's great, but I'm sure if I put him on a truck and drove him to Melbourne, he'd have a gimpy leg. I retired him when he was 10 because he had decimitis of the coffin bone, and this is one of my greatest achievements, and not many people know about it. But I was told by some really good vets at Oakey, because they'd worked with a lot of top performance horses and race horses and stuff. They said he's got ring bone, decimitis of the coffin bone. You could use him for another 5 years. We'd have to heavily doctor him with steroids and cortisone, but then you'd have to put a needle in him, put him to sleep when he's 15. And he was my number one horse at the time. And I cry when I talk about him too much because he means that much to me. But I knew in my heart then that I was a horseman because I retired him that day. And he's now 28.
Wow.
So this is 18 years later, and the old bugger runs around my property like he owns the place. And the involvement with Sen the last 2 or 3 years, like I did have him on Phenazam, which is a medical thing, which is probably not that good for him. We put him on Your Wonderful Gold, and man, he's telling all the women that he'd like to go out on dates with, and he's just a legend. So we're just so grateful for your involvement with him, and with the Sen products for me, people say, how do you have your coffee? I say I have a white too and one spoonful of Sen. I won't have a coffee without it. And I used to wake up in the middle of the night screaming in pain because it is a physical job that I do, and I sleep with no pain now. And I know that if I didn't have the Sen collagen, I wouldn't be able to do that. So grateful for what you all do for us.
We can't thank you enough, Guy. You're bringing the awareness to trying to help horse owners and their actual bodies to try and be in a better condition as we age. And the Sen Collagen Peptides has been an amazing success being released last year, but with your help, it's had great awareness, and we just can't thank you enough. And even I think we met through, I think there was a feed company a feed store that was selling the gold, and then you guys bought it direct, and then we reached out, and if it wasn't for that interaction, I don't think we'd be here right now. We just keep building on our relationship, trying to help each other and help support each other's goals, and we both have the same mindset about horses and the way they should be cared for and the way they should be trained, and we just can't thank both of you guys enough.
Brian, thank you so much. As you know, with a human, we can have a sugar tablet and we can say that it's fixed their headache. There's a placebo effect. There's no placebo effect for horses. It either works or it doesn't. And to see that old stallion get to where I had to put another fence up to keep him away from the mares, like if you leave the gate open half an inch, he tries to go out and spread his bloodlines across my property. Like he feels so good at it. And I think I even said to him, I want what Nuggets on. And so I'm not on the gold, but I'm on the collagen. And As I say, I'd be lost without it. I don't ask Emily if she's packed my undies. I ask if she's packed the scent because that's more important. She's packed my undies too. She has packed my undies.
And the gold actually has the collagen peptides, and that's what we pride ourselves with all our supplement range. They're all human grade. We want the best results without any unnecessary ingredients, and that's what is setting Sen apart in this sort of Australian landscape of feeding horses. So,
true horse people too. Like I know Em's use horsehair products for herself, and if it's not good enough for our horses, we wouldn't have it. Like true horse people would often pay extra to take care of their horses. They often eat better than we do because we're crazy like that, but we think so much of them.
Yeah, 100%, Guy. And between your autograph sessions at Equitana, I think I had a chat to you about the collagen that you have when you're traveling and the great effects you've had when you do have it on the road.
Yes. Yeah, quite often when we travel, I'll have it, but I normally only have it, with my coffee in the morning. But if we do big shows, and this show that I do at Harrisburg, we perform twice in the night program. We're 2 hours in the arena through the day, and then I sit on a horse and sign for about 45 minutes, and I am in extreme pain normally. Well, I just make sure that I have the collagen in the evening, and then I'm able to sleep. Whereas quite often I would have to, at that event, I would have to be on much more ibuprofen than I should be on just to sleep, and I just don't have to, and it's wonderful. I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah, and for our listeners, if you do want to read up about the collagen, I'll put the show notes, or I'll put the link in the show notes, and also you can use Guy's code Guy5 for a small discount as well, and I'll put those in the show notes as well for anyone interested. But no, we can't thank you guys enough, and what we like about you, Guy and Emily, is you guys speak from the heart. You're not there to just market or sell a product. It has to actually work first and foremost, and then that's when we can tell everyone, and that's how Sen has been built over the last 8 or 9 years. Just the genuine results seen in both the horse, the dogs, and now the humans.
That's wonderful, mate. And we've had a lot of companies. When we first went to America, we were at one of the first multiple Liberty horse acts over there, and we had people throwing stuff at us from left, right, and centre. And I said, I'm sorry, but if I can't stay true to who I am, I won't be able to go back home again. And so I wear pretty much the same hat. I wear the same clothes. I try to look like the same man that I left as. And if it's not right and it doesn't come from the heart, horses know. The humans, we can kid to a human, we can lie to him and have him think that we're something else. A horse will look straight through the core of us. And if you want to find the next president or the next prime minister of Australia, you stick him around a young horse and he'll tell you whether he's a leader or not. Like they don't care what we say, they don't care what we drive, they don't care what we dress like. They care only about the honesty and integrity of our heart. And so I try to carry that through to everything that I do. And I may not be correct on everything, but I will be true to who I am and what's right. And if you can't stand behind your words, you can't stand behind anything.
Yep, and it's that consistency of your message, because it is so true. It's so honest, and like even when I clip up some of those Instagram videos, just to spread around the emotion and the way you talk and treat and treat the horse in training, it's so genuine the way it comes across, Guy, and it's just so good to see.
Well, I know when I was a kid, I would say, "Oh, geez, I love this old horse. I love this nugget." I'd have Stockman go, "You're supposed to love a woman, you weirdo. You don't love a horse, you love a woman." And so I probably didn't talk as much about the love in that for. And then when I got to America, I just was who I was, and that's what people appreciate so much, is that I know that my family are important. Em has to come first. And a lot of the times in the past, I would ask God every night to help me be the world's best horseman, and the husband and the father thing would come second. Well, I know now that this life is about being the best person I can be and being the nicest I can be to others, but the horses have always come first in my life. And I did actually say that to Emily when we first got together. I said, I don't mean to be rude. I said, if we get together, you will be the most important woman in my life, but horses come first. But the more that Emily's with me, that I know that she is first in my life now, but the horses are an incredibly close second to her and my beautiful daughter and my family. And and they are just the most amazing animals in the world. And people say to me, Guy, what would you be without them? You know, they ask other professionals, and they say, oh, I'd be a rock star, or I'd be a water skier, or I'd be a snow skier. And I say, I'd probably, quite seriously, be with a straitjacket somewhere in a padded cell. Like, this world is so crazy. People are so rude to one another, and in a lot of ways it can just tear you apart, that if I didn't have my horses, I don't think I'd have my sanity. So I'm just so grateful for what they give to me. And there's times that where I could have gone to a shrink and not got back from them what Nugget gave me, or what Dream or my team members do. You know, you look into their eye and they are as honest and as true as horses were 1,000 years ago. You know, as humans, we are continually changing, and I think the smarter we get, often the dumber we get. Whereas a horse stays true. I know that when I ride one of my stock horses, that I'm riding a horse as true as his great ancestor from 300 years ago.
It's so, what would you say, the technology is ever evolving in the world, and us humans, we need to really look at each other and show that respect.
People say to me, we love how humble you are. I said, mate, I work with Liberty horses for a living and ride without a bridle and saddle. If they don't keep you humble, nothing will.
True. Yeah, true. Well, Guy and Emily, I think this about wraps this podcast up, and hopefully next time we speak, it will be the 3-time world champion Colt starter. But as you said, you will take everything as it comes, because it is you against 3 Americans, and you'll be representing Australia very well.
And every one of us, this will be the first time that we've all won something like that. I've been blessed to win twice. Mike Majors is a fantastic horseman. He's won world championships and other events, like versatility quarter horse and stuff, and he won the world last time, and then the 2 wild cards. So this will be the first time that 4 winners go into the arena. So it's a little bit like the champion of champions sort of things that they do with the cooking shows and stuff. So it's really exciting. I write for Horse Deals every month, and I'm going to be writing, my next article will be preparations for the World Championships, and I'll be explaining about my dear mate, the gelding mate that I won on in 2013. I'm going to ride him and to teach the young horse, so there'll be preparation stuff to do with him to get him ready. And I'll be saying in the article that hopefully the next article you'll be hearing, I'll be talking about how I won the World Championships, and if you don't hear anything at all, you'll know I didn't. So if I win, I'll be telling everybody. If I don't, I'll say, what World Championships? I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened.
It's just such an amazing spectacle, or it's going to be really tough competition. But as you said, you'll take it one day at a time.
In the years past, there's been a lot of sort of WWE kind of stuff where they sort of wanted to to hate on each other, and I said, I'm not about that. It's the horsemanship, not about you against me. It's about getting the horse together, building something. And each one of us competitors in there, there's 2 younger fellas, and then there's Mike and I. Mike's in his 60s and stuff. So when people say, who would you fear the most? I fear the horseman that's been on him the most. So to me, Mike would have had the most hours in the saddle and the most hours with them, and they better fear me too, because every year that I spend on a horse, I should be improving and getting better. But what I love about all 4 of us competitors is in our photos, we're all smiling, whereas 10 years ago, the competitors they had their arms crossed over, they were about to go into a boxing match. So we're all there to have a good time, and most importantly, we're all there to showcase these amazing animals that we really wouldn't have a life without.
So true, Guy, and that's well said. And well, Emily and Guy, we wish you all the very best in your travels to Kentucky or Lexington, Kentucky in America, and all the best in the competition, and we will be sure to keep our listeners up to date.
Thanks, mate. We'll be sure to let you know if we win, and we'll be sure to talk about something else if we don't. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Guy. Thank you.
See you, mate.
Thanks.
Thank you. So there we have it, and I will be back with Peter in the next episode for this new season in 2023 for the Sen Horse Podcast. If you guys have any questions or would like just to reach out to us, we have various contact methods through social media, our Sen office number, and also all through on our website contact form. And I think I'll leave you guys with a little bit of a clip of the announcement of Guy being invited back to Lexington, Kentucky to compete in the Road to the Horse World Colt Starting Championships. And he says some very nice words about his horses that he's riding also before the announcement.
They say that pressure makes a diamond, and these are my 2 diamonds right here with me. I'm going to take this beautiful boy. Thank you. I'll ask him to lay down because this is something that he likes doing. He loves laying down because he can't get in trouble for not moving when he's laying down. No one ever gets angry at him for not moving when he's on the ground. These kinds of things I do. I mean, these horses aren't related by blood, but they are brothers by heart, and I love them dearly. I'm going to tell you the absolute honest truth. I love the Australian stock horse. I love the more hot-blooded horses, and these boys aren't hot-blooded. But I wouldn't swap these and I wouldn't sell these for all the money in the world. They are my world champions, and I will love them and take care of them forever for what they do for me. I'm so proud of you, boys.
Speaking of world champions, Guy, before you leave here today, I've been given the honor of simply posing a request to you. Would you be interested in returning to Lexington, Kentucky in 2023 and competing for another world championship?
Well, Matt, I really think you should have got down on one knee to ask such a question. But I've been asked to come back over the last few years. When I won the first 2 times I was asked to come back, and I really felt as though I couldn't have done any more. I mean, I rode mate bridleless on that last day. I stood him up on a pedestal, and I thought, I can't do any better than that. That's the very best that we could offer. And then over COVID, I started a lot of babies. I went back to being an educator, and I do believe that my method has improved. In 2012 and 2013, I gave my very best, and I left my heart out on the line. 10 years later, I believe my very best is a little bit better. I would love to come back. Thank you so much.
So there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's set. 2023 Road to the Horse. Your first main event competitor is 2-time world champion Guy McClean.
Thank you. Thanks so much.